What is up, everybody, and welcome. In today's video, we are taking an insider look at HEA Design's newest knife. That's right, everybody. We have a knife to reveal. Now, it's been a little bit out there on social media. There's a couple of other people that have gotten their early YouTube videos out on this knife as well. So you may have seen it, you may have not, but this is the HEA Designs Hunter. This is Sam's newest knife that he is bringing to market. It is a fantastic knife at an even better price, and I am so excited to jump in. So first of all, one thing that's really important for you guys to know, if you're seeing this video the day that it's coming out, then this knife launches tomorrow. January 29th of 2019 is when you can go ahead and order one of these knives. And now maybe you've done one of Sam's pre-orders in the past. This is not a pre-order that opens on the 29th. The knife is for sale on the 29th. So you can go directly to headesigns.com and buy the knife directly from Sam. It should also be available on Blade HQ and Knife Center, all on January 29th. So definitely be ready to pick up the knife, and you should be able to get one if you're watching this video after the day it comes out. So let's go ahead and unbox this knife. We start off with the sleeve here, and now I have taken this box apart and played with this knife for a couple weeks, but I wanted to put it all back together so that you could see Sam's amazing packaging, because it's always one of the best. So we take our sleeve off, and then we do have a magnetic flip top box. Of course, you get Sam's Design Different moniker right there, and this really cool matching card, nice thick stock, and you have this little letter from Sam. You can pause and read that if you would like. Remove that top layer of foam, and dun dun dun, you have the Hunter. Now, this particular Hunter is in carbon fiber. The knife does come, I believe, in 6 main variants with 2 secondary variants. That could be slightly off, but it's a number of colors of G10. There's like an ice gray, an orange, an OD green, a black, and then maybe some others. There might be like a light green as well. But yeah, so it comes in all those different colors of G10. Then there's also a couple of more limited blackout versions. There's like an OD green blackout version that has a blackout coating on the blade, as well as a full blackout, so black on black, black G10. But the carbon fiber one was the one that spoke to me, and we'll go ahead and jump into the knife in just a second, because it's never just the knife with Sam. You can always remove your insert and find a nice little set of gifts. So let's check this out. Sam's a big fan of little knickknacks and doodads, things like stickers. I have a handkerchief of his somewhere behind me as well. So in this package, here's all the stuff we get. So you can see we have a Hunter sticker. We have the Design Different and HEA Designs stickers. This super sick HEA patch. I actually left this sealed, but I'm going to take this out because, you know, it's got the Velcro or whatever. But this thing is like, look at that. It's like that really like high quality rubber. Like, this is sick. This like wasn't cheap to manufacture. So that's really nice. You have this Hunter sticker. I guess I should put a spoiler alert at the beginning of this video. Maybe I'll have done that. So that's pretty sick. You have an HEA sticker matching your patch. And then Sam tends to include these little like foam pouches. Here, we'll go ahead and open it up. These are just for carrying your knife if you ever needed a knife slip for any reason. You know, maybe you're gonna pack the knife away in like a suitcase so you can fly with it or something like that. Just a nice little slip for it. And these have been developed, because I've got some of these from my older knives, and they weren't branded. This one is, though. So you can see the knife fits perfectly in the slip. And then you could like throw that in a bag or a pocket and make sure the knife doesn't get scuffed up at all. So yeah, and then just a microfiber cloth. So we'll go ahead and package all this back up and jump into the main course. Now, this knife, it's definitely my favorite knife from Sam so far, but it is also probably the most normal. If you're familiar with Sam's work, then you may know the equilibrium and the antidote and the poison. I guess the antidote and poison aren't really that crazy of knives, but the blade shape is kind of a little weird. And you know, his whole thing with design different, definitely something I can get behind. And so he likes to do unique things. And let's go ahead and actually find my thing. This baby. So this is the first knife that Sam produced under the HEA Designs name. Uh-oh. And I picked this thing up, I guess it was 2016, maybe early 2017. And so I've had this knife for quite a while. And you can see it's pretty big, and it's got a pretty unique shape. A little scary in terms of the blade shape. Just like, well, not scary for like for a knife guy, but scary for, you know, the public. And of course, now he has the Equilibrium V2, which is basically the same knife in a smaller package with a little bit more detail and a little bit more development, which I really like. And then, of course, he also has the Wingman, which is probably most similar to this knife. The Wingman is a flipper, but it has a hole cut through the frame and through the blade, such that when it's closed, you can see like all the way through it. But like you can't finger flick the hole because the whole blade goes into the frame. And so it's just like an aesthetic thing. And so that's cool, but still it's just kind of like an aesthetic thing. And I had yet to really see Sam, like, I don't know, like put everything together. The interesting design and the mechanical prowess. Like a lot of people really liked the antidote and the poison, just the way that it flipped. Sam always has like really strong detents, really great flipping action, you can see here. So his mechanics are great. But, you know, then you do get like the weird shapes and stuff, which is, again, that's all great. I love everything that Sam does. But this knife really is like the one where I could see him getting really big off this knife. Like this knife is such a perfect little package, is so valuable in terms of everything that it offers mechanically and aesthetically, especially at the price point that he offers it at. And so we'll get into more of that later. But I'm just so impressed with everything that he's been able to deliver with this knife. You can really tell that it's a culmination of all the experiences that he's had thus far. And also, you know, people might not realize this, but, you know, Sam is obviously the designer and everything. And these knives, they take a long time to get through, like, the production process. So he's been working on the Hunter for years, you know, upwards of 3 years now. And so, you know, this has been something that he's been like laboring on for a long time, and it's really tough when you can't expose it and like show it to people or even get feedback on the knife really until it's done. You know, you can show prototypes and designs to people like me and to friends and stuff, but ultimately you're not going to know how well the knife is going to do or how it's going to turn out until it's done. And so it's definitely a daunting thing for somebody like Sam to take on. And so I'm just so happy that this one was executed in a way where I really think that this is going to break out into the bigger market. And so let's go ahead and sort of talk about the reasons why instead of just talking about the knife as a concept. So the Hunter here, we'll go ahead and measure it up. I don't actually know where my big ruler is. So this is a 6-inch, and so it's it's about 6.5. Right about 6.5 inches. So it's definitely on the smaller side, but it is still a full-size knife. And what do I mean by that? Well, if I grip it with all 4 fingers, you can see my pinky is fully on the handle. I'm trying to twist my arm here so you can see. So the pad of my pinky is fully on the knife. That is in, of course, the saber grip. And, of course, usually you're going to use the knife in a pinch grip. But just to show you that it's, you know, a full-size knife, you can properly grip this thing and it's good to go. So that's something to definitely be, you know, conscious about, is that it is, in fact, a full-size knife, even though it's on the smaller side. And then the other thing that just really makes this knife so great is all of the fidget factor ability of it. You know, again, talked about Sam's always had sort of a great flipping action, really strong, but this knife is a front flipper and sort of a finger hole flipper. So, you know, that definitely takes a little bit more dialing in and a little bit more attention to the detent and the geometry of everything happening around the pivot to make the knife, you know, function in a really good manner. And so it absolutely does. So I would say the detent's, you know, sort of just like a medium detent. It's really good for the front flipping action. You can see with the thumb, it really wants to rock it out. It's a really like solid deployment. Then, of course, you can pull backwards with your forefinger. That works as well. It's a great little one-handed opening method for when you just pulled it out of your pocket. Middle finger flick, of course, my preferred method of opening. This knife is great for this type of action. So you can see here the hole, just overall great position, very accessible. See that middle finger's got plenty of room. You can sort of go towards the bottom or towards the top, wherever your finger sits. And of course you can thumb flick it as well, although that is definitely where I struggle the most. That actually wasn't so bad. I haven't been that successful with it off video. But yeah, so 4 different opening methods, and then of course there's all kinds of weird ways that you could get into it if you were that kind of person. But if you're just interested in knowing some of the main ways, you can pretty much open it any way that you prefer. And then in terms of, you know, dropping shut and everything, the knife has a super small, pretty thin, light blade. But you can see here it barely takes a shake to get that thing to slam shut. The action is so smooth on this knife. Sam and the team that worked on producing the knife have done an absolutely fantastic job at making sure this thing is just a total joy, a total pleasure to play with. And, you know, that's really what Sam's all about. He wants to make knives that look great, feel great, and that when you pick it up and put it in your pocket, like you feel like you have the whole package with you. You know what I mean? It's sort of like a no sacrifice kind of knife, and I really appreciate that. So I mentioned the price point earlier as well. Sam is bringing these things to market for $199, $200, guys, which there's not a lot of people giving you this kind of knife at that price point, and so that's really, really exceptional. The carbon fiber version, I believe, is like $219, so it's like $20 more or something, negligible. And so it's a completely accessible knife, especially when you compare it to other sort of, you know, production knives that are coming from small batch companies, you know, small brand companies. Zero Tolerance might be able to deliver a similarly awesome knife for $200, but it's Zero Tolerance. You know what I mean? It's a huge, massive company with all kinds of production behind it, and you know, all kinds of money to throw at design and everything that doesn't necessarily get translated into the knife price. Whereas when you buy a knife from Sam, you know, all the costs are in this knife, and so the fact that you can bring it to the market at that price point is insane. So what are some of the details that actually make it so worthwhile? My first favorite thing here really is that the, you know, lock side is fully contoured, as is of course the show side. But when I say fully contoured, it's not just that it's contoured like this, but all the edges are beautifully, perfectly rounded. I mean, look at this. It's such a comfortable knife. You can squeeze this knife in your hand. Squeeze it as hard as you can. And it's comfy. There's no sharp edges. Everything is chamfered, rounded. I mean, like, look at the lip around the pivot. Everything is chamfered around the blade. This is not a sharp edge. You can see with the light, that little chamfer across the spine. Full chamfer inside the blade hole here. I mean, there's guys making custom knives with holes that you know, rip your fingernail apart because they're not chamfered. Even this thing is chamfered. On the show side, you have this awesome milling. Some people ask, you know, what's the deal with the milling and everything? You've got it here on the backspacer too. Sam goes for a futuristic aesthetic and what I like to call a more is more attitude. You know, normally people say less is more, and you definitely get that with the sort of minimalist looks of things like maybe a plain Peter Rossetti or something like that. And, you know, you can definitely appreciate that, but bringing back the aspect of the price point, Sam's whole kind of thing is really more is more, right? How much stuff, how much sort of expenditure can he pack into a knife at an attainable price point? And so he tries to do as much as he can just with CNC and adding details. And so with the show scale here, it's really just that futuristic aesthetic. Does give you sort of like a grip point. You know, when you grip, usually your middle finger is sort of right there in the middle. So it does feel very comfortable. Do have a little bit of jimping on the back here, but it's not very far forward, so it's mostly just for the flipper. Doesn't really give you too much grip up here on the knife. But then again, more CNC of this small fuller through the knife, or through the blade, sorry. And then you can also, of course, see the two-tone blade finish. We do have a satin flat with a blasted finish. Beautiful little cool Bowie blade here. Super sharp point. And then back to this side. I'm going to close this so I don't stab myself. Back to this side. You can see other CNC detail in the beautiful 3D milled clip, which works very well. You can see the lanyard hole is perfectly and mindfully spaced between the screws. CNC'd all the way through that backspacer there. And then the CNC'd pivots as well with the HEA logo. Something Sam has been doing since the beginning. And, you know, ultimately just a beautiful profile for the knife. So yeah, I hope you guys can kind of understand why I'm behind this guy so much. It's really just more is more, man. More is more. So again, guys, get ready. Get your wallets ready. Get your PayPal accounts out and prepped so that you can pick yourself up a hunter for $199 for the G10, or I believe it's $219 for the CF. I think it's worth it for the CF. That's kind of a negligible amount, for being honest. And this knife is just a knife that needs to be in everybody's little collection. You know, if you're a custom collector, this is one of those perfect little, like, production knives that, you know, has a little bit something special and a little bit unique that's a little bit more exciting than maybe owning a Spyderco or a Benchmade or something generic, but also that you can, you know, destroy, right? You could wreck this thing if you want it to be that kind of knife, you know, so you can carry all your beautiful safe queens, and then when you actually need to bust something out, this can be your little side knife that you maybe keep on your desk or something. Or, of course, if you come from sort of the lighter side of the market, then this, man, your $200 doesn't go much farther with a lot of knives than it does with this. So if you enjoy all the fidgetability aspects of this knife, or the aesthetics in general, or maybe you're looking for a knife that's a little bit on the smaller side, I can't recommend this thing enough. You guys got to go buy one. HEAdesigns.com. Thank you again, Sam, for sending this knife along. Really appreciate it. And thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.